Alright. Well, I got me a bottle of water and I chugged me some water. So I'm ready to continue on. I'm going to continue on this list. And I'm so glad that the next item, alright, is the flint and steel. Yeah. Yeah, it's S tier. It is an S tier item. Alright? It is an S tier item. Everything about this item freaking rocks. The flint and steel. Alright? Now, some people might say, oh, but Dale, you should put it as an A tier because effectively you can rub two sticks together to start a fire under some pretty decent situations and decent environments. And if you even can get two sticks. And yeah, there's a lot of spells that can start fires. But the flint and steel is so important. It was important. It was so important in everyday medieval life. One of these steel setups, not so much the flint, but the steel setup, can give you thousands of firelights. This is something that your character needs to train to learn to use. So if we're talking D&D, put 1 point in survival, baby. Or like the DM just says you learn how to use it. Whatever. Flint and steel, so important. Oh my gosh. This is everyday life. Fire for man is life. Fire is life. Fire is death and destruction. For man, it's life. Prometheus gave us fire. God dang it, use it. I can't stress enough that flint and steel is so important. And if I have to sit here and explain to you why fire is important, then you need to put your dice back in your bag and go sit in the corner and think about it. Fire is so important. I am going to put tinder twigs under B because there are those instances in which there's those instances where lighting a fire instantaneously is helpful, and if you're rich as heck, you might as well pack a whole bunch of these bad boys instead of flint and steel. But for economic reasons, your flint and steel is just your cheaper everyday man alternative. In my home country, though, we call these matches. All right, that's what they are. Matches. Give them a fancy name like tinder twig, but that also goes to share. And I'm going to go ahead and put this here: flint and steel and tinder. All right, that's flint and steel and tinder. In a typical kit, it'll come in a nice dry box. You will keep your tinder in there, so that's very dry cotton, hay, fibrous material, cloth, whatever. Your scrap garbage, that's easy burn, paper, whatever. Because you're going to need that to help you start a fire, and it just makes it that much easier. And That's that. Flint and steel is extremely useful with tinder to the point where it's about as good as matches in a lot of cases. If you get the right tinder with you, you can light a fire easily within a round if you're good. If you're good. And some of you survival boys, looking at you, Ranger, are going to be that good. But you know, the people with the lack of survival skills, the people who play banker in Oregon Trail, they're going to bring matches with them. You got the money to waste on matches, go for it. Matches are just the alternative to flint and steel, but flint and steel is just having that fire source. That's what you need. Alright? That's what you need. Alright. So, you got all of that out of the way. Oops. My other computer here shut off, or went to sleep mode. Alright, so where are we at? It's a grappling hook. Oh boy. Oh boy, the grappling hook. Where are you gonna go? Where are you going to go? That's a good question. It's important. But it really only seems important for those who can actually use it. So, that's going to have to make it a C tier item. Okay? I'll explain here in a second why I think it's a C tier item. It's kind of a really ugly grappling hook, but you kind of get the gist. If you're strong enough, you can tie a rope and throw it over, and it can do some kind of effect. The grappling hook is good, but the grappling hook is only good for those who know how to use it. And anyone who improperly knows how to use it can get themselves hurt. It's a very skill-based item. So the rogue or the barbarian or whoever has got the climb check, they're handling the grappling hook. No one else is handling the grappling hook. It's a very good item to have in the situation, but it's also a very situational item. So this is an item that's going to be left on the wagon until it's needed. The grappling hook also, and you know what? Okay, so you've got your pittance. Okay. You've got your pittance, all right? Your climb gear. All right? That's all C tier. Someone should have it. All right? This doesn't include the rope. We'll get to the rope when we get there. This is just, the pittance, the grapple hook, and assumably the hammer that goes for the pittance. Pittance are really good on their own anyways. They're useful for setting up a tent, so you might already have those because of the tent. Kind of want to get into to the tent here in a bit. But the climb gear is C class because someone has it. The good climber gets it. Any of these C tier items, one person needs to have it. One person needs to have a bucket. One person needs to have a bag of sand with the bell. One person needs to have a scroll case, and one person needs to have the climb gear. And the climb gear is going to be sitting in the wagon, so it's not going to get too much use. But when you need it, you're going to definitely need it. We'll cover the rope in a bit because I want to talk about the rope and the cool things you can do with the rope. But we'll get to that in a bit. So that's just your climb gear. That's C tier. All right, hammer. Hammer. All right. It's a B tier item. I'm talking about a one-handed wooden mallet. That's what I'm referring to. If it's an iron hammer, so be it. It doesn't need to be an iron hammer. If you have the strength for it, yes, iron hammer. It's a one-handed hammer. Wooden hammer's fine. This hammer is used in replacing your wagon wheels. This hammer is used in putting pittons into the wall. This hammer is used to break some shit, especially when you need to throw away item. This hammer is throwable. This hammer is for the use of when using a chisel. This hammer is very multifaceted. It's a very good tool. Bring a hammer. 2 people need to have hammers. You know what? Yes. 2 people need to have hammers. I'm saying that right now. At least. Okay? Hammers. They don't need to be big. They don't need to be sledges. Alright? You know, one-handed hammer. That's where that goes. Super important. Also, you can tenderize your meat with the hammer. That's kind of good. That's kind of cool too. You know, so many good uses for a hammer. All right, hourglass. Yeah, you should have saw this one coming. What is the hourglass useful for? Timing. Just kidding. It is not an F tier item. It's actually an E tier item. Here's my thing with the hourglass. Alright? The hourglass is specifically used for timing spells. The hourglass is specifically used for timing spells. There's a fair amount of spells that last an hour. The hourglass is used for that. I feel like mages sort of instinctively know anyways when their spells are about to end. So I almost feel like the hourglass isn't necessary per se. But because it's heavy, it's breakable. It's kind of requires, it to be held still. Yeah, you can wear it around your neck, but in the movements of combat and action, it's going to get tossed around. So even for counting time for spells, it's a little jank. I'm going to put things at the F class. The F class is for stuff that should not exist. The E class is for stuff that you're not gonna. Don't waste your money. Do not get. I see the point of an hourglass. There's a purpose to the hourglass. It counts an hour. That can be useful in a variety of different situations. But in terms of adventuring, no. Uh-uh. If you got better uses for the hourglass than what I just mentioned, go ahead and mention it. But it's effectively just a timer. I mean, if you're the cook of the group, then by all means, like, get yourself an hourglass. Especially if it's a properly marked hourglass. So you can mark, like, oh, it takes 10 minutes to cook, 50 minutes to cook, whatever. There's use to an hourglass. But it's sitting on the cart and it's collecting dust. I'll tell you that. All right. Ink. Ugh. Ink. Ink is a B tier item. I guarantee you. I guarantee you there will be a scenario in which you will have to write a letter. Probably the wizard of your party is going to write this letter, or whoever your intelligence guy is, and that's it. You're just gonna, it's for all matters of formal documentation, you're gonna need ink and quill. If you're a wizard, you have to have magic ink and a quill to even write stuff in your spell book. So you're gonna have this shit anyways. Ink is a B only because you're gonna have it anyways. The only thing that sucks about ink is that it gets damaged. It gets everywhere. So make sure you put it in a separate container. Like you put it in a wooden box, with your quill and your pen pieces. This is also ink and pen. I say pen because, it's the tips. It's the pen tips. The feathers are already B tier, so you're already getting feathers anyways. But, that's your little nibs. So there you go. There you have it. Ink and quill. Straight up. It's B. Someone's gonna have it. So the writer of your group's gonna have it, and it's gonna be necessary. You're gonna need it at some point. Do you need to bring it on adventures? No. No, you don't. But you're gonna at least need to know where it's at, where it can be obtained, and that goes with this too. Well, I'll get to that later. That's not B tier actually. We'll get to that later. But you're gonna need ink and pen. So I'm gonna go ahead and cover it. Okay. Parchment. Parchment is A tier. Parchment's a bad boy. It's super light. Here's the advantage of it. It's not just for writing. It's also for storing. That's right. You could origami store shit with paper. That is right. Oh, I need this alchemical ingredient. Spell store it in some parchment. Very convenient container. Opium is stored in parchment. You can do all kinds of things with it. You can roll it up. You can use little bits for animal messenger. All sorts of things. Like parchment is the way to go. Parchment is compatible with the charcoal, and is definitely compatible with the ink and pen. Cool tricks. Very, very cool tricks. Prestidigitation, in most forms, says that you can change the color of an object. You can change the colors of objects. I have seen this used And this is just my DM ruling that a mage can take a piece of parchment and show diagrams on it using prestidigitation. I don't see why that's game breaking, but very interesting to have a nice, clean, flat, papery surface. Parchments are obviously used to make maps, etc. So, there you go. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the B tier, now that I'm kind of thinking of it. And I'm surprised I don't have it on my list. Really kind of annoying why it's not on my list. It really should be on my list. Let's not waste space. Valuable space. Compass. It's a very important item. Why is it B tier? Only because one person needs it. Only one person needs a compass. Not everybody needs a compass. Not everybody needs one. It is valuable, especially if you're underground. To get your bearings in dungeons, the compass is valuable. Compasses are typically pretty breakable, and they're actually pretty expensive. I think in D&D it's 250 gold. So for a basic item, that's not cheap. Compass is pretty expensive. I mean, typically they're made fairly nice. Magnetic pin, lodestone, all that. Am I still recording here? Very good. So the compass is a B tier item. Only one person really needs to have it. And in a lot of cases, especially if you're in outside wilderness, you can discern north by stars or by the direction of the sun. So the compass isn't fully necessary. Like, you're going to live without it. You are going to live without it. So it is a B tier item. Very, very nice to have. Very, very nice to have. Oh, my computer went in sleep mode again. Alright, okay. We're moving on to musical instruments. Musical instruments. Alright. Musical instruments are at the very, very bottom. I don't even know why you're fucking bringing that noisy ass shit on the adventure. Like, literally, you're just attracting monsters. There's literally no reason why you should bring a musical. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Whoops. Whoops. Whoopsie daisy. Whoops. Oh gosh, I'm really screwing this up. Alright. S tier. A tier. S tier. Is an S tier item. That's right. Musical instruments are S tier item. Everyone should have one. Everybody should. You guys actually, in all reality, you guys need to all be playing bards. This is 5th edition. Bards are pretty OP. So forget it. Like, all of you guys just play bards. You need a musical instrument. All right, that's enough joking aside. That's enough joking aside. I have musical instruments on this list. I'm going to talk about musical instruments. I'm not going to put them on a tier list. But I am going to discuss a few of the musical instruments just so you guys kind of like understand. So you're an adventurer, all right? You have to bring an instrument around. If you are a bard, you can cast spells with very simple somatic components. So you can play an instrument and cast spells. That's one of the beauties of being a bard. I think in any game that has a bard, that's always been true. Correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty sure from 3.5 on up, and Pathfinder and And even 5e, you can cast spells and light armor and while playing an instrument. That's always been the case. I'm going to go over some instruments here. Here's some good instruments to pick. And here's some of the let me go over some of the guidelines. You want to pick something that is light and that does not always require two hands. Okay? For example, drums. Bongos are very small. Even a djembe, you can get a pretty decently small djembe. A tambourine, any of those percussion-y things, or even a snare drum to a degree that I guess you could strap it on, But drums, they don't require. They could be tapped one-handed. You've got a whole other hand free. That's the beauty of drums, straight up. Still don't really recommend the drums because most of them are pretty unwieldy and big in general. So drums are kind of in C tier. Tambourine is fucking S tier. If your DM lets you get away with just having a tambourine. Now me as a DM, I say no. Bards need to play a complex instrument of some degree. A tambourine's not that inspiring, let's be real. A lyre. You can kind of prop it on yourself and use it one-handed. Lyres are great. Lyre's a great instrument. Very portable stringed instrument. A recorder. I'm not talking about the plastic one. I'm talking about a medieval wooden recorder. Good instrument choice. Very light, packable. Flute is the same way. Clarinet, oboe, same way. Any of your basic woodwinds. They do have some of those woodwinds have a lot of parts though that might be a little hard to obtain. So make sure that your character knows how to repair that instrument if that stuff comes around. Obtaining reeds might be difficult out in an adventuring circumstance. Recorders don't need reeds. Traditionally, they don't. So recorders are definitely S tier in terms of other instruments, just because it's that lightweight. You can play it one-handed, because you can play it one-handed and you have it in your mouth and you got your other hand to do your sword fighting. Other instruments. Trumpets are good. Trumpets are good. Good instrument. They're loud, they're boisterous, and they can be played one-handed. They are great for signals, alarms, and military calls. Bugles and any of those one-handed horn instruments, great choices. Trombones are trash. It's two-handed. Tubas, that's a complicated question. Is the tuba big enough to be a shield? Maybe. The sousaphone? Definitely. Sousaphone is big enough to be armor. And it's one-handed. Technically, it's one-handed. That's right. Your instrument is now your armor. And you play it one-handed. You have a hand free. You can wield a sword. A rapier. Yep. So a lot of people are like, okay, well, keyboards is one of the instrument classes in D&D traditionally. So what portable instrument can I carry as an adventurer that's a keyboard? I can't bring a piano or an organ around. And traditionally, like, the piano in medieval setting hasn't even really been invented yet. You're either dealing with a harpsichord or lesser, or a clavichord, or just a flute organ. The hurdy-gurdy is a keyboards instrument. The hurdy-gurdy is very portable. The hurdy-gurdy can be especially annoying. And accordions also fit in this breed as well. Accordions and hurdy-gurdies are both keyboard instruments technically. They're both two-handed, however. So, they're not really viable in terms of having hand-free. Now, you want to be an annoying but very efficient bard, don't you? So pray to God that He grants you the voice of angels, because singing is the best instrument. Both of your hands are free. Sword and shield. But let's say that you weren't gifted in the tone of voice. You've been forsaken by the gods. Do not worry and do not fear, for there is one other option, one other powerful option. Sorry, I take that back. There's technically two. The kazoo and the harmonica. The harmonica requires a little head attachment, so it's not as effective. But the kazoo, as long as they don't swat that out of your mouth, you've got both your hands free, bucko. Sword and shield and kazoo. Yeah, you're ready. You're ready to rock and roll and stab and shield away. Triple S tier kazoo. That's right. And a moron can play a kazoo. Alright. We all had... Check, I'm still recording, right? Still recording. Excellent. We are doing good going through this list. I'm glad I was able to talk about some instruments. Very, very glad. Clay jug. Why do I have this on my list? Any particular reason? I'm not going to mark it in here because it goes under the water wineskin ordeal. The benefit of the clay jug is that you can make one in the wilderness. You just need a simple forge, which is very easily made with earth and some firewood. You can make yourself a clay jug. So if you're up a creek without a paddle, you can make yourself a clay jug. You can store water in it. The ladder. We're gonna go ahead and do this now. Is the ropes, all right? Yeah, the rope. It's an A tier item. It's an A tier item. It's better if it's silk. Go for silk. It's heavy. It's heavy. No. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Sorry. It's a B tier item. It's a B tier item. It is a B tier item. Only one person needs to have it. 2 people would be better. 3 people would be great. But not all 4 of you need to have rope. So if you're that weak wizard type, don't fear, you don't need a rope. Silk is better, hemp is fine. But there's going to be a lot of instances in which you need a rope. Big tip and trick. Very, very big tip and trick. If there are 3 of you carrying ropes, make one of them knotted. Every 5 feet or so, or less, have knots. They create footholds. They make climbing very easy. I'm not an athletic person. How many of you watching this video right now who play D&D can climb a rope with your arms and your legs? No, not a lot of you, actually. Don't act like you can. Not a lot of you. An average strength person it struggles climbing a rope. But most of you viewers are probably American and you're probably overweight, and that's a lot of weight to carry climbing up a rope. That's very difficult. Up an incline, that's a little different. You can use a rope to climb an incline, that's fine. But if you're climbing vertically, you can't climb a rope. A knotted rope fixes all of that. It effectively makes it a ladder of sorts. So even someone such as myself, who's very unathletic, I'll tell you that, I can climb a rope that has knots in it. And I won't like it, but I can do it. That's one of the little tips about rope. Rope can carry equipment up. You can use it with a pulley, a lever. So many uses for rope. You can tie people up. No, I want to put it in A tier, but not everybody. Fine, I've rechanged my mind. It's an A tier item. You can tie things up. You can cut it off. It's really cheap. Its blatant downside is that it's just so heavy. The silk rope helps with that, but it's still really heavy. A standard coil of rope is 50 feet. But to be honest, that 50 feet goes a long way. One of you carry the 50-foot rope, and then another two of you just carry 25 apiece. You can use it as an emergency belt. You can use it to hold things. You use it whenever you can set up a makeshift tent. And ropes have so many uses. It's such an A-tier item. And in medieval life, you just had rope. Everybody had rope. Rope can be used as a weapon. And if you're getting into a fight and you've got nothing else, you can wrap your fist around with rope. Just give yourself a little edge. Rope is very useful. It's an A-tier item. It has to be. It has to be an A-tier item. Okay? Not all of you need to carry it, because it's just so dang heavy. But it's too damn important for the group not to have. And that brings me to the ladder. Okay. All right, the ladder. It's so situational. It is so situational. What are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that ladder? It's nice. You can climb up it fast. It's just way too situational, and it takes a lot of space, and it's awkward and bulky. It's not as bad as the chain, but if you can use improvised weapon, the reason why the ladder is at least a D is because the ladder can be used as both a bridge, an easy bridge to cross, and as an easy way to climb up. There's no checks to be made for either way of these uses. The ladder, if you have improvised weapon, is an amazing weapon, and Jackie Chan proves this. So go watch Jackie Chan, go watch some Jackie Chan movies and watch him fight with a ladder, and you'll see the beauty of the ladder. But it's still only a D tier item. That's all it ever can be. Lockpick set. Oh boy, the lockpick set. What about the lockpick set? Oh boy, I can already see the bad comments. I can already feel it. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you, Rogue, please carry a set of lockpicks. Please carry a set of lockpicks. It's your job to carry these lockpicks. But I will tell you that the barbarian can destroy most doorways that are locked. The wizard can cast knock, open a lot of these doorways on his own without making a sound. And, with making some sound. And a lot of these chests we can just take home and lockpick later. Lockpicks are also a criminal item, which means that if you get caught with lockpicks, they typically either get confiscated, you get fined, or you're put in prison. Lockpicks are thieves' tools. So unless you can prove that you're a locksmith, then by no means are you bringing lockpicks into a town and getting away with it. Yeah, it's just a criminal item. And guards will be checking your contraband, because they do, at the gate a lot of times for security, and you're gonna encounter these instances. They are extremely light. They don't take up much space, and they break a lot, and they're pretty cheap. But you gotta find them to replace them. Where do you go and buy lockpicks? Well, you have to buy them from other thieves, or you gotta make them yourself. And thieves are slimy people, anyways. The whole situation around the lockpick is just a difficult crap task. So if I were you, if you're gonna have lockpicks, you gotta get a Masterworks set. You gotta get a good set, because you don't want them breaking, because you don't want to have to go back and buy them. That's a hassle. Lockpicks are very situational. There's a lot of cases that there's other methods of doing it. And I'm not saying that lockpicks aren't useful, because they totally are in a lot of scenarios. DMs a lot of times fail to consider that, lockpicks take, if you lockpick a door, it takes a considerable amount of time, minutes, to do. A professional lockpick guy takes minutes to pick a lock. With very cheap and basic locks, they're done within seconds. But we're talking, some decent locks with plenty of tumblers, it takes minutes. It takes some time to finagle it right. Every lock is different, especially during this time, where locks weren't just made with irreplaceable parts. So in combat, you're not going to use these lockpicks. They don't do anything else except for pick locks. I guess they could be used to pick your ear. Your ear is going to build up with earwax, so maybe I should move them up to C tier. On that notion alone. Let me grab a sippy of my water here. Am I being too harsh on lockpicks? That's some good night water. The thing about lockpicks is that they just don't need to come with you on the adventure most of the time. Unless you know you might need them. So, there you have it for lockpicks. And a lot of those doors are freaking trapped anyways. You freaking fail and you set off the traps. It's just more hassle than it's worth sometimes. And I guess you need them. I guess you're going to need them. Magnifying glass. Alright. So the magnifying glass is a D tier item. No. It is a C tier item. You're probably thinking why. Well, not only does it help you read small print. Okay? Not only does it help you read small print, but with the sun it can help you light a fire. It's also kind of an expensive item. Who am I kidding? You ain't no C tier item. You're expensive. So you're a D tier item. No one really needs to have it because matches and flint and steel are just that much better. But the magnifying glass does have infinite uses, effectively. So, that's that. Magnifying glass is also kind of breakable, which is annoying, especially because like getting that kind of polished glass is not easy to obtain. Normal people aren't selling magnifying glasses. You had to go into a special town for that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's your answer with the magnifying glass. It's a D tier item. Too specific. Manacles. So you remember the beauty of the rope. Manacles are just a better tire upper. So, all right, hang on. I'm gonna put them right here. Okay. Alright. Manacles are between a C and a D. Alright? Let me explain. Manacles are extremely helpful if your characters do bounty hunting. You're going to need a set of manacles. That's how you get to capture the dude. It's better than rope in every way in terms of keeping someone bound. But to be honest, that's what manacles are designed for. They're kind of heavy. I wouldn't say they're cheap, but they're really a bounty hunter's item. If your party is doing a fair amount of bounty hunting, then that's a good tool to use. So there you go. Manacles, great. But they're ultimately D tier in most cases because they're too specific. So unless you're a bounty hunter, you ain't gonna have them. But if you guys are bounty hunters, then it's a C tier because you're gonna someone's gonna need at least have one. If you guys aren't bounty hunters, it's D. So it's stuck between that C and D tier spot. Mirrors. Ugh. Mirrors. Gosh, I don't even want to put it on this list. I don't want to put it on this list because the mirror's importance is life-saving, obscure, and specific. You're not going to want it as a starting item, but then maybe you do. The mirror is great for charismatic characters to make sure that they look nice before they enter court. The mirror is useful to the mage that needs to scry. The mirror is useful in the fight against Medusa. The mirror is a reflective surface. It can be used to reflect light. It's also made of silver, so it can be smelted down into silver to be used to coat ammunition. So can silver coins. A mirror is a nice flat surface. It's fairly heavy. It can be used for a lot of different things. It's very breakable though. So, you know, I guess it's D tier item. It's just too specific. Or that's E tier. Not E tier. Oh god, no, it's definitely not E tier. Whoa. Whoa, sorry there. I didn't need to take the whole tier with it. Oh. I'm drawing on the wrong layer? Yeah, go figure that I would do something stupid like that. Alright. The mirror is a D tier item. Too specific. But it's a great item. It's a great item when you need it. It's a very great item when you need it. If you're playing Werewolf, the Apocalypse, the mirror becomes instantly A tier. Instantly A tier, if not S tier. You need that reflective surface so you can stare into your eyeball and traverse into the umbra. Very, very, very important item. Okay. The tankard. I'm not even going to put it on this list. If you're drunk, carry a tankard. Just do it. Just do it. The bartender is going to thank you anyways for bringing your own tankard. You know, like, oh, it's one less cup I gotta clean. You know, sort of ordeal. And you know, wear it on your hip. Caden Clay will like it. You know, just carry a tankard with you. You know, it's a cup. It's a freaking nice cup. Not a clay tankard, alright. A tin tankard. Or a Peter tankard. You know. A nice pewter tankard. You know, and get one designed. Get one designed with like one of your quests, one of your adventures on it. You know, and then has a story you can tell on the cup. Decorative tankard is probably a C tier item. Who am I kidding? It's, yeah. Okay. The tankard is a C tier item for everything that I just explained. It's a really ugly tankard. That's not even like really how it is. That's not really how they look. They look, you know. Look at one of those flip lids though. And make sure it kind of has like designs, you know. You know, so you can have a story on it. Help boost that that street that it's kind of a joke, but it's also not because actually it's a pretty helpful cup. You know, you're gonna need a nice strong cup to drink out of. You might as well, you know, might as well make it a tankard. All right, oil. Oh boy, oil. So here's the deal with oil. We have to cover the lantern if we're going to cover oil. The lantern, and we're going to have to cover torches. I'm going off instinct here. Alright, this is how it goes. Torch is C tier, lantern's B tier, oil's A tier. Lantern, no chance of burning yourself, doesn't create a lot of smoke, usable in a dungeon, lasts an extremely long time. Torch, chance of burning yourself, creates smoke. Torches are cheap. Torches can be used as a weapon, so torches have that advantage going on for them. Fire's scary. Things don't like it. Torches are scary, and they're throwable, so they're throwables. C is just a lot more destructive and a little more situational. So, I mean, torches are good to have. So, it's in a C class, so someone needs to have a torch, But if you're rich enough to have a disposable lantern to just throw instead, like, lanterns are fine too. Lanterns are just the better form of the torch, in just about every way. They just cost more. Bullseye lanterns are very nice. You can point in the direction. But that's not entirely necessary. Why is the oil A tier? Well, oil is a very good fire starter. And everything backs up to flint and steel. Flint and steel is, fire's life. Fire's destruction, fire's death. Oil is just a perpetuator of destruction and death. And in 5e, oil is a damage dealer, which is absolutely crazy. But if you need something lit and you need something burnt crispy, oil's the way to go. Sometimes bad guys regenerate after you knock them unconscious. Like trolls, oil's gonna be your best bet. Oil is going to save you from the turmoil of infinite battles with trolls. Some things just gotta burn. And oil's up to the task. Oil is up to the task. Any slow-moving enemies or stuck enemies, douse them in oil, light them on fire. It's hard to get that shit off. Oil's very difficult to get off the body. Very flammable. Oil's A tier. Oil is A tier. Paper and parchment. I already covered that. That's also an A tier item. Why paper or why parchment? To be honest, it doesn't really matter. Apparently paper is nicer than parchment, I guess. Doesn't seem right to me, but I don't know. Because it means paper more in the closer to modern sense. Okay. A miner's pick. Alright, a pick. There you go. A pick is D tier. Start recording. Good. Pick is D tier. Pick is D tier. That's all there is to it. It's very situational. It can be used as a weapon in a pinch. It's kind of clumsy and it's really not designed to be as such. It's good for breaking chains. There's a fair amount of instances where you're going to want to pick, but it's all prep. Having a pick in the wagon's not a bad idea. But the pick suffers the same problem as the lock picks. It's like, so you need to get in somewhere. Many ways to do it. If you have an earth mage with you, then you don't need the pick. The barbarian can use his weapon if he's that freaking strong, but you don't really want to damage your weapon. So you're going to go back and you're going to get a pick. So have a pick in your wagon, but honestly, it's very situational. You're only going to probably only need one. Well, if you really plan on mining, maybe you have two, but pick is, excuse me, I didn't mean to yawn there. Pick is just meh item. You're just probably not going to need it. And if you do, you've already prepped for it anyways, or you find it lying around, which happens a lot of times anyways, because you're in caves and caves collapse and you find picks. All right, clay pitcher. That's just like the clay jug. Pittons. That goes under climbing gear. Yes, the pittons are C tier. 10-foot pole. 10-foot pole. 10-foot pole. All right. Hold your horse. All right. Okay. All right. We can go on all day about the use of a 10-foot pole. Alright? There's 101 uses for the 10-foot pole, and I'm reading here on this website. Hack and Slash, home of the Quantum Ogre Agency Theory and Fun. Just found this here. Jeff Rates posted on an article Monday the required reading about the 10-foot pole, and I swear I could remember seeing 101 uses for one. I couldn't find it, so I wrote my own. Whoever this guy is on Hack and Slash wrote 101 uses for a 10-foot pole. Alright, you can use it to sweep the ground in front of you for trip wires and pressure plates. You can use it to assist you in mapping by measuring the walls. You can use it to remotely open or prod chests or levers. You can probe liquids and slimes. You can use it to jam between walls closing in on you. You can use it to place across a pit or ledge to walk across. Okay, I'm going to have to call bullshit on 6. The pole's probably not that good. You can strike it against the ground and make noise to help determine the size of rooms and announce your presence. You can tie a prisoner to it, assist in carrying them. Yeah, that's true. Helmet on a stick. That's number 9. You can use it to vault over dangers. Yeah, true. It can be sharpened and turned into a makeshift spear. Yep. It can replace the haft of a broken weapon. Yeah, actually, yes. In a pinch, it can be converted into a makeshift ladder. Yeah, okay. The cleric can decide that it's a holy symbol of his god. You can prod or whack other party members who annoy you. Oh yeah, definitely true. You can push climbers who are halfway up a wall. You can interpose it between yourself and dangerous monsters. You can dangle it down into pits to help people get out of traps. You can string a line around it and use it to fish. It can be used to increase your carrying capacity by tying balanced bags on either end and carting them on your shoulders. You can open unlocked doors from a distance. God, man, there's 101. There's 101 uses. Like, in an emergency, it can be used to stake a vampire. That's 23. You can use it to check dead bodies to make sure they're not zombies. You can set the end on fire for fun. That's 48. Nothing says the pole can't be made from metal. I'm gonna say it's gonna probably be wood, because it's gonna be heavier than shit if it's not. So 62 is trash. It's a wooden pole, probably really good wood, very good wood. A hollow metal pole could be used as an air tube while underwater. I guess. Kinder control by the judicious application of bruises. Yes, 67 is great. You can also offer it as a toothpick to a giant. Give those beautiful women you rescue from the dungeon a pole to assist with their dance routines. That is number 69 appropriately. Tie meat to the end of it to feed a wild animal. Yeah. Yes. Yell, "I'm not touching you" when you poke someone and with the pole and turn them hostile. Number 90. Impromptu ballista ammo. That's 92. Your first step to designing your own pole arm. The best solution for carrying 100 gold pieces of hemp rope. Yes. It can be used as a legal option for a very non-lethal duel. True. These are great options. The 10-foot pole is an amazing option, but 10-foot pole has one glaring weakness in that it's 10 feet tall, and you have to carry it with you. One of your hands is no longer free. Alright? But its usefulness knows literally hardly any bounds. That's why it's a B tier item. Eventually, this 10-foot pole will be gone. You will have leveled up to the point where you will no longer need the 10-foot pole, but the 10-foot pole helps the babies grow into men. Alright? Bring a 10-foot pole and give it a good burial. Light it on fire just for the fun of it. 10-foot pole is very useful. Someone should carry it. Whoever's not holding the weapons. Yeah, I'm looking at you, mage. Maybe even cleric. Bard. Can it be used as an instrument? Should be. Can be used to lock a door shut. Yes. Yes. So the 10-foot pole. Stunning, amazing item. And extremely cheap. Very cheap. Alright. So I'm going to talk kind of in brief. And I'm going to go ahead and put it. I'm going to go ahead and put it as a B tier item here. Okay? And this is your mess kit. This is your mess kit. This is your fork, knife, spoon, cup, pot, pan. This also includes items like kettles and heatable tankards and the like. Your coffee percolator, all this stuff. It's very important. It's very, very important stuff. So like, it's not ignorable stuff. You're not going to be in super big trouble if you don't have it, but it makes life that much easier. The mess kit is very, very important, and it's that much easier. But the reason why it's B tier is because the items in the mess kit, for example, the dagger is the very most important part of that kit in terms of having a cutting device. You can heat eggs up on rocks. Nice flat rocks. You can cook eggs on rocks. Bunch of other things you can do with other tools if you don't have a mess kit. The bucket, if it's made of metal, can be used for cooking. You can char meat on a stick. That's not an issue. With the basket, you can steam vegetables in a basket. So there's a lot of things that, like the mess kit, if you have other options, you can use them instead. But the mess kit does make life that much easier. Everybody should have a basic mess kit. The cook of the group should carry a pot. If you have a wagon, a kettle, that kind of stuff. Kettles are very heavy. A kettle is 40 pounds. At least in my system it is. It's a 40-pound kettle. I think I picked that number from Pathfinder anyways. But that's a big heavy item. You're not going to be carrying that around. It's going to be one of your wagon items. Well, if you're feeding an army, you're going to need a kettle. That's that. Belt pouches. Oh, belt pouches. I'm going to stick that just under backpack. It's just That's what it is. But it's nice to have multiple belt pouches. You can fit little items in there for quick and convenience. Your belt pouch is going to have your spell components if you're a mage, so that's very important. Let's see. Rations, already covered that. And rope, hemp, and silk, already covered that. Sealing wax. Why is that on the list? Well, I'm not going to put it on here because that's going to be your sealing wax is going to be in your ink and pen kit if you even bother to use it. Sewing needle. My goodness. My goodness. Okay. All right. Needle and thread. Needle and thread is a B tier item. You should pack it if you can. Pack it if you can. Even if you don't even know how to use it. Though you should know how to use it, at least in its basic sense. If your buttons come off or you get a tear on your garment, you're going to need to sew that up. Needle and thread is great. Bring a nice basic color. One needle, one thread, you should be good to go. Multiple needles, multiple types of thread, that's even better. If you can have one person in your party member just carry a sewing kit around with them, that also works great. Just having someone with a sewing kit is going to come in a lot of handy. Especially if the mage doesn't have mend, or if you're playing in a game system that doesn't really have that much magic, or you're away from the mage, or there's just no really easy way to repair your items. Sewing kit is great. Someone should have a kit. If not, everyone carry a basic setup. Needle and thread. That there's not much more to say about it. It's just your clothes are important. Your shoes are important too. Like a lot of things are important, and you can use it for cooking too. You can suit. Oh, and forgot. The needle and thread is excellent for. Not excellent, but you may have to use it for stitches. You may have to use it to close a wound. So, yeah, thread and needle, kind of a little bit of a survival item. I kind of recommend it. I'm going to go ahead, and you see how I got feathers right there. I'm going to go ahead and put it up as an A tier item. Cotton or cloth? Alright. Cotton or cloth? Everyone should pack a little bit of this. If you get any kind of wound, this is what you're going to be using to, dab it up. Have some cloth so you can make a bandage. Have some cotton, to hold a wound. Cotton or cloth is very useful in that regard. So what they did in the Middle Ages is what you had. So, very useful. That's all there is to say about that. It's especially with like cotton. It's so lightweight. You're not even really going to feel it in your back, and that's why it's A tier, because you're just not going to feel it. It goes hand in hand. The cloth goes with the needle and thread, so you can make patches on your clothing if you have to. But the cloth, it's throwaway cloth, really particularly. You just need it for bandages, and you're going to get hurt. And you're going to have to tape your hands up and your fingers up, and it's going to be nasty. It's going to be awful. And you're going to get calluses because you were in mage college for 18 years of your life before you went on that adventure. And now your fingers are blistering from the climbing, and your feet have blisters, and everything hurts, and you just need to wrap things up because they're bleeding and your scabs are bleeding. You don't want to get infection. And that flask you're using that has the high grain alcohol is in there with that cloth. So yeah. So good. So very good. You're gonna be upset. You're gonna be upset when you don't have it and you need it. Okay. This sort of stuff should be in your healer's kit from the get-go anyways. So don't feel too bad if you don't mark it separate. Someone should bring a healer's kit. I'm going to go ahead and just... First aid kit. Alright. Of course they wouldn't really call it that back then, but you know, it's a C tier item, so someone should carry it. If the healer of the party can't heal, then you're gonna have to use first aid kit. Just have it on hand. Someone have it. All right. The signal whistle. I'm not even gonna cover it. No, well, yeah. Why is it an F tier item? Because the signal whistle is really only used by jackasses that are in the military. I think they call them your sergeants, and they blow this whistle in your damn face. It's useful for sports, I guess, but we're here to play D&D, so we're not here to play sports. The bell does everything I'd mentioned, but better. This whistle is loud, obnoxious, and people stare at you when you blow it. If you're trying to create a distraction, you've got it. But then, like, everyone's just annoyed that you freaking blew the signal whistle. Now, a dog whistle, on the other hand, that's a little different. Dog whistle is probably a D tier item. Very situational. But signal whistle is a way worse bell. Can't even use it. Can't even use it to set up an alarm. You know what? I ain't that harsh. You know what it's useful for? You wanna know what the signal whistle is used for? You give it for that escort mission. The princess, she's carrying the signal whistle. That's what she's carrying. So if she gets in trouble, she's blowing the whistle. Am I still recording? Good. Still recording. This is a long video. Holy crap. Wow. Alright. Move on to the next item here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Spyglass. Yep. The Spyglass. It's a C tier item. The Spyglass is expensive. It's one of the most expensive items in the game. I've made them more reasonably priced and rat in my system, but Spyglass is expensive. If you guys can afford to get one, it's a C tier item. It's very useful from seeing far away, but you only need one. And don't you dare break it. This is an expensive item. There's so much advantage because you have to think about, like, how many people have spyglasses? Well, hardly any, because it's so damn expensive. So if you got a spyglass, yeah, you got an advantage. You have an advantage. Spyglasses weren't invented until way further late, which is kind of odd because, like, the Greeks understood optics. The Greeks understood optics for a very long time. So, a polished domed glass wasn't a new concept. It just took a while before somebody decided to really put it all together into a spyglass setup. Weird, but odd and interesting. That's just how it ended up. Okay. Yeah, this was obvious. This was so obvious. The water clock. It's expensive. It's bulky. It's highly scientific. It takes up too much space. It breaks. And it's dumb. The water clock. If you're bored, go on YouTube, look up a water clock. You'll be amazed. Like, it's really cool. Why is it under equipment? Why does anyone own a water clock? Especially when they can own a real clock. If the game has clocks. Well, Middle Ages clocks weren't necessarily commonplace, if at all. Depending on how further in the closer to the Renaissance we get. So, yeah, water clock, useless. Absolutely useless. Why is it in D&D? Why is it there? I mean, there's a purpose to the hourglass. But a full-size water clock? I don't think so. Alright. Last item that I'm going to last item I'm going to cover on my list. All right. Oh, no. I'll cover a few little items here. I'm going to go ahead and put it in S tier. All right. Bedroll. Don't skimp out on a good night's sleep. I can't stress this enough. This goes for real life. Imagine not sleeping well for your entire adventure. Imagine that. It's going to make you physically ill. It's going to make you mentally ill. Get a good night's sleep. Please, get a good night's sleep. I mean, what else can I say? Like, invest in a good bedroll. Like, have a good blanket. And this goes for bedroll and blanket. Blankets are super useful. It falls under that whole towel category that, like, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is like, always bring your towel. Like, it's very useful. Towels are very useful. Blankets are very useful. Bedroll and blanket. Get a good night's sleep. That's how you cast your spells. That's how you stay sane in adventuring. You know, it's fine to stay at the inn every once in a while, but when you're out there and you're roughing it, your bedroll is your friend. Do not skimp on the bedroll. Do not skimp on the bedroll. Just like eating well and getting plenty of fluids, getting plenty of sleep is all part of the package deal. So that's why it's an S tier item. I'm not going to put tent down on the list. No, I'm really not. I'm really actually not going to put tent down on the list. Tents, however you guys figure out your sleeping arrangement, this goes entirely under the bedroll and blanket setup. Keep yourself sheltered. Keep yourself out of the elements. And if that requires having a tent with you, then so be it. Tents are effectively a C item because of their usefulness, but a blanket can become a tent, canvas can become a tent. Um, it's a C tier item because if you're planning to go out there in a way where you don't really have shelter, then you have to create your own shelter. And well, how many tents do you need? Do you guys share tents? Do you guys not share tents? That's a very it's something you talk about with your party and you figure that out amongst your party. It's different for every party. I can't mark it anywhere because some setups are better than others, but um, it's one of those things where your setup is your own, but as long as you're getting a good night's sleep, that's all that matters, and that's all that's really important. Um, I'm not going to put fishing rods on here for the same reason I don't put bow and arrow on here. Um, However you catch your food is your own thing. It's very nice to have a method of catching food. So having a bow and arrow or a fishing rod um, is good in terms of. But the thing is you should have packed enough food anyways for the adventure for the get-go. But it is nice to have backup food, and it is nice to have a method to catch some fresh meat because protein is a very important aspect to your diet as humans. So make sure you have a means to catch live game, rabbits, squirrels, fish, the like. Um, and you prepare that and do that. You let your survival expert prepare and do that, whatever that needs to be. If that means having a bear trap or setting up traps, um, or throwing a spear or shooting a bow or using a fishing net or a fishing rod, that's entirely up to you. That's an. I'm going to stick those items as B tier items, but if you plan ahead, they're not necessary. You're going to mostly be carrying a bow around. Someone's going to be carrying a bow around anyways because they need a ranged weapon. Anyways, or you guys should have ranged weapons. Your ranged weapon will substitute. That's why it's not on the list. Salt. Carry some salt around. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and put it B tier. Salt. It's good against ghosts. It's a seasoning. It's a preservation technique. And you put a little bit of salt on a stick and brush your teeth with it. And that's what they had. So, salt. Yeah. It's kind of a useful everyday item for everyday life. So, salt. You don't need to pack a lot of it, just a bit of it. That's what. Yep. Don't just freaking eat it. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and put candy on this list too. Candy did exist in the Middle Ages. There were lots of different hard candies that existed in the Middle Ages. And especially in fantasy settings, candy exists. Rock candy is a very easy candy to come across. Having just a little bit of candy goes a long way. It's good for if you need that burst of energy. This is going to sound also really bad, but it's good if you need to coerce a child. There's no better way of saying this. If you ever get in a diplomatic situation with a child, candy goes a long way. Sometimes you just need some questions answered from a scared child, and, there's candy. That sounds awful, because now it sounds like we're trying to abduct children here. That's not the case. Don't abduct children. But candy is a nice little pick-me-up when you need it. And you haven't had anything to eat and you don't have time, just eat some candy. People like candy. You can share candy with people. That's why a D tier, though. But don't really get into the candy thing, because then you're just going to turn into a big weirdo. Okay, I'm going to skip a lot of food because it's already really covered. And I think I'm going to cover the very, very last item here that's on my list. Now, that's not to say that there's not more items you can probably use and need, But I'm going to go ahead. We'll go ahead. Move the Spy Kids here. We're not going to have too much room. So I'm moving some stuff. Moving some stuff down. Okay. This is your whetstone. It's a C class item. The fighter carries the whetstone. Alright? To be honest, if you are using weapons, you need to carry a whetstone anyways. At least a small one. You need to carry the stone powder and all sorts of, and the oils and the clinging oils. Maintain your weapons. Please maintain your weapons. Clean your weapons. Wipe your blood off. Maintain your weapons. Have the equipment to maintain your weapons. Your weapons are your life. Your weapons are your survival. And it's going to be really bad when you wake up one day and I got a little bit of rust in my weapon. It's not a big deal. Yeah, it's not a big deal until the bandit with a scimitar breaks your sword in half because you let it rust. Or you're not getting proper edge alignment because your weapon is busted. Have the equipment to take care of your weapons. And whetstone is sort of a metaphor for any of that equipment. So that's extra string for your bows. That is the oils for your weapons. That is any sort of sharpening tools. That might even entail replacement spearheads if it gets to that point. So make sure you have the means to take care of your weapons, because the weapons can't take care of you unless you take care of them. And that's why it's a C tier item, because at least somebody needs to have that available for the group. That's it. That's all I want to cover. See all these items, these tier lists for items like... Here you go. Take a good look at it. Alright. Is there a full screen mode? Is there a full screen mode here? Fit the window size? Whatever. I don't care. This is what we're dealing with. Alright, you guys can see it. This is it. This is the full list. You guys have a wonderful night. Because I had so much fun actually making this. I had so much fun making this. This whole ordeal. And I could easily cover more items. One of the items I didn't cover. I didn't cover the bowl. It should be part of your mess kit anyways. So that's definitely important. I didn't really I didn't cover candles. Candles are up there with lanterns. Candles go up there with lanterns. They're the same premise. And in fact, the candle is sometimes better because it's placeable, it's disposable. The candle can also act as a timer. So the candle has a lot of very interesting uses on its own. Candle's definitely B tier. It's up there with the lantern. And it lasts a fairly long time. So a candle is B tier item. The mining lantern is a pretty decent lantern on its own. It fits on your head, so it keeps your hands free. So that's definitely... I didn't cover food for your animals, but that's still S tier regardless. That's still S tier regardless. I didn't cover bottles, glass bottles. Glass bottles are C tier. Glass bottles are C tier. Only because there's a lot of things you can do with it. I mean, they kind of figure under the jug and flask sort of container department, but it's kind of nice to have different glass bottles when you wanted to store different things that you collect. I guess maybe it's a little more of a D tier item. I guess it's a C tier item if you guys are more of the magical types. It's a D tier item if you're not. I didn't cover the shovel. The shovel was a D tier item. Shovel was there with the pick. It's the same purpose as the pick. If you need it, you need it. You've already planned to take it with you. If you don't need it, then it sits in the wagon. It's good to... You know what? A shovel's more handy than a pick, actually, in a lot of cases. Shovel might even be a C tier item. Because at least, like, with the... Okay, assuming you get a nice, more modern-looking shovel with, like, a flat side, it's a C tier item, because it can also be used as, like, an axe, dig with it, and also it's a fairly decent weapon. It's much better than the pick. The pick is very unbalanced and unwieldy, and it's kind of like, you know, if you miss with an axe, you're going with it. It's kind of very axey in that sort of sense, but it's very unbalanced in that sort of way. The shovel is a lot easier to wield. So shovel is definitely C tier item in comparison. I didn't cover soap. Soap is either an S tier item or an E tier item, depending on how you feel about soap. But cleanliness is nice to have. I put soap personally as a C tier item. You should have it, but it's sitting in the wagon. And there's going to be a lot of cases where you don't have the means to take a proper bath. So it's just going to sit there unused. But wash your hands before you eat, especially during this COVID-19 crisis. Like, wash your hands. Please wash your hands. I know it's Middle Ages, so soap doesn't work as effective. But it has been proven that old-style soap and water is more effective than doing nothing. So, at the very least, washing your hands with just a little bit of soap and some water, even in these medieval times, is definitely much, much better than doing literally nothing at all. I didn't cover having a wallet. You should have a wallet. Yeah, I think that's about... having some leather pieces isn't bad to repair some things. That's another thing you could carry with you. The portable ram. The portable ram is an E tier item. It's an E tier item. It serves one function, and that's just the ram. Like, nothing else you can really do. And typically, you're just gonna make one of those before your siege, anyways. They're heavy. They're bulky. They're in the way. The portable ram is an E tier item. I didn't really get into holy water, alchemist fire, wolf's bane, or any of those items, holy symbols. Those are magical in nature in a sense, and I think it's good that if you have the money to branch out and grab those things to cover your bases in terms of enemies, especially if you're the monster hunting type, dungeon delving type of people. It's good to have those things around. So those items, if I have to rank them, silver and cold iron are very easy to obtain. Or silver and iron, sorry. I shouldn't say cold iron because it depends on the game whether or not they're easy or not. But silver and iron are very easy to obtain. And salt, also very easy to obtain. You should have it anyways because it's a Class B item. And going on about like these items, holy water, very specific, but good against all forms of undead, including ghosts and evil creatures. So, holy water, very good to have. Wolfsbane, werewolves only. Wolfsbane is werewolves only, so very specific. Not worth having. Don't even bother. It's very specific. If you know you're hunting werewolves, so be it. But if not, don't even bother. Where does poison fit on this map? Well, poison's a weapon, so if you're a poisoner, so be it. Pack a poison if you want. Poisons are useless half the time anyways, depending on the system. If it's 5e, at least it does damage. If it's my system, they're deadly. Like, poisons in my system are deadly. Same with Deadlands and Savage Worlds, poisons are deadly. But if we're playing 3.5 or Pathfinder, poisons are a joke, and don't even bother. Don't even bother. Even in 5e, they're kind of a joke, too. Alright. I'm kind of feeling tired, man. I ran it on for an hour plus. Am I still even recording? I hope so. Yes. I am still recording. Thank you for watching this video. You didn't have to do this. You didn't have to do this. You had something better to do, I'm sure. Long video. But thank you for listening to me ramble and draw all this stuff. This was a lot of fun to do. And thank you for stopping by this channel. Good night. You have a wonderful evening. And until next time, this is Dalio signing out.